Shiv Sena UBT's Priyanka Chaturvedi joining us on the broadcast as well. Ms. Chaturvedi, do help us understand this. Firstly, your reaction definitely to the entire matter, and what exactly is the opposition's demand, given that there are two back-to-back central level examinations, which seems like the NTA has failed the students, 24 lakh students for the NEET and 9 lakh students for the UGC-NET.
So two things I'd like to tell you. This is not just what the opposition is demanding, this is what the nation should be demanding, because this is about the collective futures of our young generation, which has been looking at the government to provide them a facility where they can give fair and transparent exams. And they have been repeatedly failing to do that and repeatedly escaping accountability. We have seen how papers leak, whether for government exams, for government entry-level jobs, for recruitment jobs. Now we are seeing this with NEET. We are now seeing this with UGC-NET. What does it speak of NTA? It has lost its credibility, and yet we don't see any accountability. We have the education minister defending it. Please understand, there were 11 lakh, over 11.5 lakh students sitting for the UGC-NET. They've given the exam, and now that exam has been turned null and void. Have you understood how much the people would be stressing about it, how the youngsters would be stressing over their career choices? And that is the unfortunate part. And we have been repeatedly raising it on behalf of the entire country. It is not the opposition of the country, really. It is the entire country in opposition to a government.
In fact, Ms. Chaturvedi, let's just also discuss about the fact that, as my colleague was also speaking, Brijesh Pandey was also saying, that this might in fact be one of the key highlights of the upcoming parliament session, a government that has so crucially highlighted the importance of young voters in the elections that were just held. It seems like the same government might have failed such aspirants who are a part of this voting pool.
The two things, again, in India, the youth is in such a dichotomy situation, caught in a situation like that, where they turn graduates and they are jobless. And when they are undergraduates, they don't get a fair attempt at giving an exam for their career choices. So this is the stress that youngsters are living with, and I think it is absolutely unfair that the government wants their votes but doesn't want to address their concerns. And yes, this would be part of our parliamentary session, and we would be raising this. And like I said, not as opposition of the country, but the country in opposition to a government which is senseless, which is insensitive and heartless to the concerns of the youth.
Right, Ms. Chaturvedi. Also, at this point, what would your demands also be with regards to the Ministry of Education? Because we see that Dharmendra Pradhan having retained the ministry portfolio of education, but it seems like even as the term has begun, there are two major examinations that have failed more than 30 lakh students.
So clearly we have a failed education minister at the helm the second time over, and all he will lead the nation towards is a further disaster as far as education is concerned. In fact, I would claim that India is going through an education emergency in this country, where absolutely no accountability is coming from the government. The government is defending such agencies which are unable to provide a free and transparent examination and allowing the students to, have to repeatedly give their exams. So this speaks about the unfairness of it all, and that is what we would demand, that the education minister needs to be accountable. Accountability needs to be set from the top. We have a prime minister who does this fancy events every year on Pariksha Pe Charcha. Will he do a discussion on why he hasn't been able to provide a fair platform for the Pariksha? So those are things we will raise, and it is, again, I repeatedly emphasize, this is not just something where opposition is speaking for the sake of speaking. We are speaking on behalf of a nation which is shocked, which is appalled by the attitude of the government.
Right, Ms. Chaturvedi, thank you for joining us on this broadcast and voicing not just the opposition's opinions at this point, but also the demand of the nation and the youth, as you have just very rightly mentioned.